Hi, I'm Sarah. I've been carrying a secret for far too long, and I can no longer hide it. Sharing this with you isn't easy, but maybe it'll help me find some clarity. If you're listening to my story, I want to thank the channel owner for allowing me to share this difficult truth. If you find any part of my confession resonates with you, or if you have advice to share, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Now, let me take you through everything that happened. From the very beginning, it's a story I never thought I'd have to tell, but here I am. I've been married to Dave for 8 years. We have 2 kids, a house, and what seemed like a perfectly normal life. At least, that's what I used to believe. It all started about a year ago. Things had been off in my marriage for a while. Dave and I were fine on the surface, but we'd grown so distant. Our communication had started to break down. The late nights at work, the exhaustion from raising kids, and the general monotony of life had drained the intimacy out of our relationship. I tried to bring it up, how we hadn't had a proper conversation in weeks, how I missed the spark we once had, but every time he would brush me off. "I'm just tired," he'd say. "We'll figure it out later." But later never came. I felt like I was the only one holding it all together, and I felt so alone. There were days when I would look at Dave and feel like I didn't even know him anymore. I missed the connection we once had, and I began to wonder if it would ever come back. That's when he came into the picture. Jake. Jake had been our family friend for years. He was like a brother to Dave, someone we had spent holidays with, gone on trips with, shared life events with. We trusted him. We knew his family. He was a constant presence in our lives, and I never saw him as anything more than that. But a few months ago, things changed. It was a hard time for Dave and me. We were in one of our worst patches, fighting more often, talking less. I felt like we were drifting, and the isolation I was feeling was suffocating. Jake noticed. He always did. He was the type of person who paid attention to how people felt, and he wasn't afraid to ask how I was doing when others would avoid the subject. One night, Dave had to work late again, and I was left alone with Jake at our house. We had always been close friends, so it didn't feel unusual to hang out without Dave there. We were sitting on the couch, talking about everything and nothing, but something was different that night. Jake was different. He was being more attentive, more focused on me. He wasn't just listening. He was looking at me in a way he never had before. I could tell something was shifting between us, but I didn't want to admit it. Still, I couldn't deny that his attention made me feel something I hadn't felt in months. He noticed the pain in my eyes, the exhaustion in my voice. He spoke to me like I was the most important person in the room, something Dave had stopped doing. I was craving that attention, that validation. I don't know exactly when it happened, but one thing led to another, and we ended up kissing. I'm ashamed to say it, but I didn't pull away. I didn't stop it. In that moment, I was looking for something I hadn't realized I was missing. We went further, and what followed was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. The guilt hit me immediately, but the rush of emotions was overwhelming. For the first time in months, I felt wanted, desired, like I mattered. The affair continued for a few months after that. Every time Dave was working late or out of town, Jake and I would find excuses to be alone. It wasn't just physical, though. We would talk for hours. He made me feel heard in a way I hadn't felt in ages. I began to believe that maybe I deserved this. Maybe I deserved to feel alive again. But the more I saw Jake, the more I realized something. I was being used. Jake was no longer the guy I thought of as a friend. He was using me. He would get close, make me feel important, and then pull away just when I thought we were building something real. I realized that everything he said, everything he did, was for his own benefit. He liked the power he had over me. He enjoyed being the one to comfort me, to fulfill my needs, while offering me nothing in return. I was giving him pieces of myself that I could never get back, and in return, all I was getting was emptiness. It took me a while to understand the depth of the situation. I thought I was in control, but I wasn't. I was just another one of his conquests, just another chapter in his story, while my own marriage was unraveling at home. The guilt was suffocating. I didn't feel good about what I was doing. I was lying to my husband, lying to myself. Every time I went back to Dave, I felt like a stranger in my own home. I felt like I was betraying him in the worst way. The emotional toll of it all started to wear me down. I was lost, caught between my loyalty to my husband and the guilt over the betrayal. How could I confess this? How could I face him knowing what I had done? And then there were the kids. They were starting to notice the tension at home. They didn't understand, but I could see it in their eyes. The The warmth that used to fill our house was gone. I hated what I had done to my family, but at the same time, I didn't know how to stop. The affair had become a lifeline, something I clung to when everything else was falling apart. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to tell Dave. I had to come clean, even if it meant losing everything. I couldn't keep living this lie. I don't know how this story will end. I don't know if Dave will ever forgive me or if our marriage can survive this, but I'm trying. I'm trying to fix what I've broken. Please leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. I'd also love for you to subscribe to this channel for more real-life confession stories. Thank you so much for listening and for allowing me to share my story. It's not easy, but I hope it helps someone else who feels like they're losing control.